Hello, welcome to Locked on Sharks, the premier hockey podcast of your favorite tanking team in the Bay Area. On today's episode, I have Patrik Bexell on to discuss one Axel Sandin-Pellikka. So we get into the potentially best defenseman in the draft class, and we throw around a very, very lofty comparison. So all that and more on today's episode of Locked on Sharks.
You're Locked on Sharks, your daily podcast on the San Jose Sharks. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
I'm your host, JD Young, contributor at Fear the Fin, RIP, and San Jose Hockey Now. I want to thank you for making Locked on Sharks. We cover your team every day. Your first listen, you can watch us on YouTube or listen wherever you get podcasts. And today we discuss arguably the best defenseman in this year's draft class. Throw around an Erik Karlsson comparison, not just one, multiple Erik Karlsson comparisons. And Patrik also has a great Erik Karlsson story at the end of the episode. Before we get into it, though, do want to give you a little preview about Axel Sandin-Pellikka. Didn't get to do this with Patrik, so I want to kind of do it right now. So, Axel Sandin-Pellikka, defenseman, plays in Skellefteå, which was that's where one Strauss man played. Anyway, 5'11", 181 pounds, 22 games. When we recorded this, at least he had 22 games, 2 goals, 3 assists with 16 shots on goal. That's in the SHL. So again, numbers don't look gaudy, but SHL as a hasn't even been drafted yet type of person. So yeah, we discuss one Sandin-Pellikka, talk about his strengths, weaknesses, what makes him so special. So enjoy. And now we bring in Patrik Bexell of Eyes of the Prize for now, continuing.
Well, we get to keep the IP, so it's fine.
Yes. To talk about Axel Sandin-Pellikka, probably maybe the best defenseman in this draft class. So let's start there. What makes him the best defenseman in this draft class?
I think we saw a preview during the World Juniors, and most of us saw that. And what really stood out for me wasn't maybe the puck moving and the passing and getting, all those power play minutes and all that. For me, what really stood out was the fact that he was trusted, and he got more and more time on ice with every game. He got more important time on ice with every game. Heavily, the coach, he just tossed him out there. And we have this saying in Sweden, you give him the little finger and he takes the whole hand. And it's exactly what Sandin-Pellikka and Montreal draft prospect Engström also did. They sort of were the two revelations in the blue line for Sweden this World Juniors. Engström obviously in his last, and Sandin-Pellikka in his first. Maybe he's last, but I'm relatively sure he will be on the next one 2 years from now. I doubt, though. But we'll come to that later with his progression. But yeah, it's the puck moving ability, the skating, the hockey IQ. It all stands out. And I'm sure that for many, they are tossing. This is a guy that has risen through the draft all year since Flinka tournament. And I think most of us that are sort of into the draft profiles already, we are seeing that he's going to go into the top 10 and stay there. For the main fans and for the main observers of hockey, I think it comes down to people will see him in the under 18 worlds, and they will figure out that he's probably the best draft guy in this class, or the guy in this draft.
So you mentioned like his kind of skating, his puck moving and stuff like that. What do you think is his most NHL translatable skill for him? So that's going to be like the one thing when he gets to NHL that he can fall back on. This is going to be the thing.
Skating will be his and hockey IQ, passing lanes, finding those lanes, creating that space. That is which he has the hockey IQ, but he also has the skating to use it at that high level, at that pace. I spoke to his coach on Tuesday, and he couldn't stop speaking about him more or less. And comparisons, because I've compared him. I'll be honest, I compared him with Philip Broberg a little bit. Skating guy, same team, same kind of physique, and I see a similar kind of development pattern as well. But Robert Olson, a coach I really, really trust, and I have a high regard. He just shot that out of the air and said, he's an Erik Karlsson kind of player. And I can see that, and you don't take that lightly. And he's been on. He didn't coach Erik Karlsson, but he has seen Erik Karlsson during the summers in Gothenburg when Karlsson was practicing. He's had close contact with Erik Karlsson, and he compared him with another Frölunda player as well, John Klingberg, which might be maybe more relative because there will only be one Erik Karlsson in our lifetime, I guess.
I mean, John Klingberg is not that's a pretty good comparison as well. Getting
I think John Klingberg is maybe the bottom, whereas Karlsson might be the top, and we'll figure out where he ends up, probably somewhere in between. But two awesome NHL defenders.
So, what is going to be the one thing that he needs to kind of work on and continue to progress as he makes his way, continuing the SHL and then eventually jumps over to the NHL? What's the one thing that's it's lacking right now?
The one thing that always comes with these players playing in the pro league, and let's be honest here, and let's start with that. He's got 22 games with Skellefteå this year. You got 23 games in the under 20 season or 20 team this year. He doesn't travel with the long. They've been on a road trip for a week, and he doesn't travel on those because he got school. That's part of it, but also he needs to. He's in puberty. Something that the coach said. He's late into puberty, and he needs to develop that physique. It comes down to that, to be able to stand up against those hard forward checkers and holding players off when he goes on his alternative routes, maybe we should say, or in the offensive zone. I think it comes down to that. That's where he really shines, and he needs to build up that. He needs those couple of kilos, 10 pounds. Something like that, 5 kilos, something like that, maybe more. Build up and build it up correctly. Build up the core, build up the legs. Don't go overboard with the shoulders, and lower your center of gravity. Like let's keep it low. Let's be stable on those legs. Something he is. He's skating fantastic, obviously, but yeah, he needs to build up the physique. He got the hockey IQ, he got the vision, he got the skills with the puck, he got the skills without the puck. I have it here in my notes, and I've actually prepared quite well, and for once, we've seen similar kind of plays in NHL now, where as in Europe, where you activate the defenders much more, and they've sort of become forwards. And you overload on one side, create an opening on the completely opposite side where someone, and you create a counting error, a little bit like handball or basketball. You run a set play, and I can see him being part of that kind of hockey player and running that kind of play. The guy you want to have the puck on this last pass to cross ice. I see him there. I have no problem seeing him going that way. The question is, you need to be smart about it. I spoke with Locked on the Blue Jackets with Jay today as well, and fair play to him. I'm sorry I hadn't watched Pellikka too much before we did ours, but we did Karlsson, obviously. And you look at it, and we kept coming back to Morris Seider. And you want some kind of similar development for Sandin-Pellikka. Obviously, it was the COVID season, so he went back to Europe and got another year. And he was arguably one of the best, if not the best, SHL defender I've seen in my lifetime. As a 19-year-old or 20-year-old. He was outstanding, and that is the kind of development you want. And look, then he comes over and he he
Wins
is,
the Calder.
he wins the Calder. He is the best rookie and you rather have that than wait another year, maybe 2 years. I mean, we'll look at Owen Power. Everyone was like, why should he go back? He went first overall. Same there. Give him that year. He comes in. He becomes that player that you want right from the get-go, rather than develop him in the NHL. And NHL isn't a development league. We've seen that over and over again. We see it with Shane Wright. We've seen it with Butjeric and Nemec has played in AHL. And let's be honest, as a Montreal Canadian fan, I think that Slafkovsky should have as well.
Yeah, I mean, we are watching, William Eklund kind of going the same thing, right? Played the SHL, got a taste of the NHL last season, and now he's playing the AHL, and he's dominating. And you're seeing kind of what Eklund could be, or just right in our own backyard type of situation. So. All right, guys, before we continue with Axel Sandin-Pellikka, continue to kind of figure out where he would fit in the Sharks prospect pool, what type of player the Sharks would be getting if they drafted him. Do want to let you guys know about our friends over at Built Bar. If you're looking for a delicious treat but don't want all the fat and calories, then you've got to try Built Bar. You made it through the holidays. I know right now it's easy to start kind of sliding back in your ways after New Year's resolutions, but Built Bar is a healthy snack that tastes great. You know why they're so great? Because each one's covered in 100% real chocolate. That's right, real chocolate. And they come in amazing flavors like churro, peanut butter brownie, coconut almond, and amazing thing, only 130 calories, 4 grams of sugar, and a whopping 17 grams of protein. And if you're like me and you hate waiting for stuff, you can have it at Walmart or Sam's Club and pick up a box today. At Walmart, they have a 4-bar box of cookies and cream, double chocolate, or coconut puffs. Or if you have a Sam's Club near you, run in, grab a 13-bar box of their hit flavors, brownie batter and churro. They'll thank me later. Or check out Built.com. They have new flavors arriving all the time. I like the variety pack that we get a little bit of everything. So if you're kind of feeling like one flavor one day, another flavor on the next day, they have you covered there. So check out Built Bar at Built.com, Walmart, or Sam's Club today. You bring up Karlsson, which is, of course, a big name. Sharks fans, we know this, right?
He's even bigger in where I grew up,
I can kind of assume that, I assume that he's, a little bit, household name over there. But you talked about the activations, right? You see that with Karlsson this year. I think that's been one of the kind of the big reasons for the Renaissance season for Karlsson this year is his ability to just, here, you do everything, Karlsson, and we're going to trust you to make all the right passes. If Alex Sandin-Pellikka can be like 90% Erik Karlsson, you're getting an outstanding player, right? Like that's the hope, is that you let him draft, you draft him, you let him develop, and you're getting an Erik Karlsson 2.0, right? That's the hope.
You saw that with Seider as well. I mean, a team really liked Seider. I think Seider was supposed to go around 12, 15. I think we were in Montreal thinking we might be able to get him at 15. Obviously, he went at 6th.
Yeah, everyone was like, "What's going on?" And
and
Stevie Yzerman was ready to go.
It started that defensive kind of frenzy in that draft, which made a certain Cole Caulfield end up at 15 instead. So, I don't complain. Like,
the Cole Caulfield's pretty sweet too. Yeah, I do love Cole Caulfield.
It's a great consideration price.
Yes, this draft feels like a lot of. We'll get into the draft a little bit more, but this draft does feel like a lot of amazing consolation prizes if you don't get Bedard or Fantilli, et cetera, et cetera. But of course, with Erik Karlsson, I hate comparing to Erik Karlsson, but like we know Karlsson is otherworldly offensive, and defense is not his game. How about with Sandin-Pellikka? Like, is he going to be I don't want to say like a shutdown defenseman, or is like what type of actual defensive defenseman is he going to be?
If you use him as a shutdown defender, you're probably not coaching the NHL, or maybe you are coaching the NHL. But that was not a dig at Tortella. I'm sorry, man.
No, you're fine. That was
funny.
No,
but you've done something wrong if you're using him for his defense. He will be good. I think he will be like Erik Karlsson. Or Dahlin, or these kind of, even Klingberg. When he was with Heiskanen, that was fantastic season for him. You look at those, and then Heiskanen took over his role, and he couldn't adapt really. And you need to find the complement to him. Sandin-Pellikka will be like Erik Karlsson or Klingberg, a cornerstone, really, I think, for defensively or as a defender. I don't think he will be there a cornerstone like Shea Weber defensively and on the power play. I think he will be there because of his offense, because of creating those spaces, faking on the blue line, setting up the power play. He's a great QB on the power play as well. There will be lapses, just like with Erik Karlsson, just like with Dahlin, just with Heiskanen at certain points as well. I love Heiskanen, so I don't want to downgrade him too much. But you sort of expect that, because if you rate his plus minus at the end, he's going to be way over on plus.
Yeah, and I've always said defense is for nerds. Go score goals. Right, your best defense for like Erik Karlsson and players like this, your best defense is keeping the puck out of your own zone. Right, you're making the other team have to work. And yes, Erik Karlsson makes lapses. He tries to do sometimes. He knows he's the best player on the ice, and he tries to do things that the best player on the ice tries to do, and sometimes it doesn't work out for him, but 99% of the time he's going to be able to pull it off, and you live with the errors here and there. So I love how this has just become an Erik Karlsson talk, this whole thing. But
well, when the coach compares him to Erik Karlsson,
when the coach compares him to Erik Karlsson, that wasn't us bringing it up, that was his coach. So
and you'll hear the full interview with Robert Olson on our podcast at Ice on the Prize next week. I think it will come out.
So that'll be, because this is kind of come out. Time is a weird thing. You'll be able to hear it. If you haven't heard it already, go and check it out with Patrick. So, all right, I have to ask. So with the Sharks, they've been working on trying to build up their pipeline, right? We've gotten guys like Eklund and Bortolo, and you feel like you have a lot of pretty solid prospects. We don't have that kind of crown jewel prospect, that like A++ guy that you can point to and be like, this guy's going to be a superstar. If the Sharks draft Axel Sandin-Pellikka, I mean, I know I think they're fourth in the old take-a-thon standings. Maybe start winning some games. Pellikka starts continuing his rise. If the Sharks end up getting Sandin-Pellikka, where do you think he fits in with their pool?
I'm not that. I've studied Sandin-Pellikka, but he will be that kind of player you build your pool around. I think you look at it from different, and it goes into, I rather see him stay another year. And I was going to look into this before the podcast and the vodcast. I don't know how much travel there is in NHL at your end, on your side of I know it's quite a bit for Laval. I think it's shorter travel within Sweden. Yeah, there's a lot of it going on over airplane or you travel by air, especially from Skellefteå, which is one of the northern clubs. So it will give him more time to recover. The games are more spread out over the week as well. You give him more time to recover, more time to build up that physique that he needs to build up. He will get an extended look on the first pairing, run the power play. He will get those kind of minutes that he needs. Yeah, it's easier for a defender in many ways to go to a smaller rink than go to a bigger rink. You have to remember that as well, because I've spoken with some of the North Americans coming here, and they say it's much more difficult as a defender to come here because you end up further away from the net.
And the angles are just way different. Yeah.
And you go deeper into the corner, and suddenly you left someone open in front of the net. So I think it's sort of, you don't have to rush him to get used to the smaller ice or something like that. He will get that as well. The pace will go up, but he will understand the game at that point, and he will be more mature and more able to handle it, I think. So don't rush him over. Give him another year. Maybe give him 1 year in AHL, or like Erik Karlsson was here another year and then had 15 games in AHL before he went into the NHL, and he proved it, like, with my hockey IQ, with my skills, I can do this, and they never let go. You ride player to the ground, and Ottawa certainly did, and single-handedly he almost took them to a cup. It's incredible. But yeah, he will become the crown jewel, as you put it, but he will need the development. It's not, again, you look at Owen Power, he coming in after a year. That's very smart development, and not pushing it by Buffalo as well. It's very smart.
I mean, we've seen that too with Mike Rear, right? Like he's been very, very patient. In
Cider.
Mike Rear's been very patient with his, Eklund hasn't even played in the NHL yet this year. Bordelot hasn't played in the NHL. Like it seems like he's going to be very, very patient.
And Eklund was sent back to Sweden for a bit.
Back to Sweden, and and I think Eklund could be helping the Sharks team right now. As somebody
you don't want to get help now, though.
No, I don't want to get help now. I'm always balancing though. I just want to watch Eklund play in the NHL with Erik Karlsson and go do fun stuff this year. But I also really, really want to top 3 pick in the draft this year as well too. So so hopefully next year. But so it sounds like a year, 2 years, and then that kind of third year from now is when we start to see Sandin-Pellikka make an impact in the NHL. That's kind of your timeline for him.
Yeah, that's what I would think. I think that's probably the best way of looking at it, and to make sure that he succeeds. It's not about keeping him in Sweden so I can watch him more or anything. It's about, you want a player to succeed.
Stop being so selfish, Patrick.
Yeah, indeed. No, it's about making that player succeed and getting the most bang for your buck in a way.
Yep, makes sense. All right, before we finish up, we'll talk some bigger draft stuff, talk an amazing Erik Karlsson story. Do want to take a quick break, talk to you guys about our friends over at Athletic Greens. Right now, you're trying to get better gut health. You want to optimize your immune system. You need more energy. Athletic Greens is here to help. 1 scoop of the delicious AG1. You're absorbing 75 high-quality vitamins, minerals, whole foods, source superfoods, probiotics, and adaptogens to help start your day right. Scoop water, shake it up, drink it before you have your morning coffee, and you are good to go. Great thing about it, less than $3 a day. Investing in your health is cheaper than going to the store and buying all the supplements yourself. Investing in an all-in-one nutritional insurance. They have over 7,000 5-star reviews, recommended by professional athletes and trusted by leading health experts. So we're going to make it super, super easy for you right now. Go to athleticgreens.com/NHL network to gain 1 year supply of immune supporting vitamin D and 5 free travel packs. Weather's going to start to get better here. You're going to start to travel. You just nice little packs. You're good to go. All you do is have to visit athleticgreens.com/NHL network to take ownership over your health and pick up the ultimate daily nutritional insurance. All right, let's get to some bigger draft talk here. So we kind of hinted at it, where this year does feel like the best of all consolation prizes, right? If you don't get Bedard, you get Fantilli. If you don't get Fantilli, you can get Karlsson. We were kind of talking about beforehand your thoughts on Michkov, who I just did my profile with Sam. Sam's been rising on him. Michkov, what are your thoughts? Do you think he might slide?
I think he will slide. I spoke to some pro scouts this week as well, but I think he will slide. Unfortunately, not due to his own performance, but he signed a very long contract. That's on him. But but in other ways, the Russia-Ukraine war. But mostly, I think he will slide because of that contract.
I mean,
I think it's until 26 or
I think it's 25-26. Yeah, 25-26.
So you get him at start of the 26-27 season, and that's a long way to wait. And there's not all teams can wait that long, and that's Anaheim will be able to, but Montreal won't. That's an example. You have to look at it from that point. I'm not sure about maybe you can wait, but it's going to be that kind of. And the problem is also you don't have the right to talk to him.
Yeah.
That is probably what, when we talk about the Russian factor and contract situations, you have to consider that it's, you are not allowed to go to Moscow and talk to him like you can go to Stockholm and talk to someone, or Helsinki or Turku or any other team, But you can't go to Russia. You can't go to St. Petersburg. You can't get to St. Petersburg or Moscow not right now anyway. But I think that is what makes him slide. And then you're going to get him. Okay, Panarin wasn't, drafted. Kaprizov was. But you're looking to those kind of players. Tarasenko was a similar kind of guy. He was there for a couple of years. Was it in Vancouver? From the Podkolzin, same thing. And out of those four, you have Podkolzin that is probably the worst, but he needs time to adjust as well. Let's be honest, Michkov was number 1 or 2 on most people's draft list last year.
Yep.
Before he signed the contract and before the invasion. He made his senior national team debut against Sweden in Stockholm, and I was with all the scouts watching the Under 20 tournament in Ängelholm, where Rögle plays, and the Four Nations there, and everyone stood around my computer watching the Michigan goal that he scores on his debut in his senior year. It's incredible, I think when you look at Michkov, and this is also might be a reasoning to why he might fall, is that his ceiling is so high, but his floor could be very low. And you think about it, what speaks for Michkov though, and Sam is a great guy, so I'm never gonna second guess him. He's also a Habs fan, so
he's okay, right?
We have to stick together.
Yes,
but looking what he has done in Sochi, arguably one of the worst teams in KHL, and what he's doing there, people will probably rank him higher again. So he will have this sinus curve in his development where he started from, going toe to toe with Bedard.
Yeah.
And then you miss some. With Michkov, you also miss some kind of evaluation because they weren't part of the under 20 this year.
Mm-hmm. All right. Which are some of the other kind of Swedish guys that you're really excited about this year? I mean, we know Karlsson. Again, if you don't get Fantilli or you don't get Bedard, Karlsson feels like you get Karlsson, who's seems like he'd be the number 1 pick in several drafts, recent drafts. But who are some of the other Swedish guys that you're excited about?
Otto Stenborg is there. Frölunda guy. The Frölunda has a couple of them. Born scored 2 goals on Tuesday. Former student of mine. Which also makes it always funny in that regard. Was it more? There are a few, but those are close to home, and you're looking at it that way. What I do like this year is that looking at the draft lists, there are more Swedes spread out. It's not like you had the Djurgården line last year.
Yep.
You had. Before that, it was Frölunda, a couple of guys from Frölunda every year, etc., etc. And right now, they're more evenly spread out over the clubs, and it also speaks, I think, to the development within Sweden and hockey. And you see it a lot of youngsters going to Rögle right now for development after the draft, and they won't get time on the SHL team because there are too many there already. So it makes sense that they go to different clubs now, and I think it will be benefit Sweden long term. But yeah, for me, we're still in the trade deadline time zone for Eyes on the Prize. So I'm jumping in and doing these as a previews for myself, more or less.
Makes sense.
Yeah. Well, to finish off, though, I need to say that speaking about Erik Karlsson and
I was going to say, you have a good Erik Karlsson story, yes.
Yeah,
yes.
And before the World Cup in 2016, I was here in Gothenburg, and he was practicing with Frölunda's pro team, and everyone was arguably it was Henrik Lundqvist and Erik Karlsson was on the ice, and these are SHL players, some of them young, some of them old, but everyone was having a little bit of a fangirl moment or fanboy moment, and it was glorious. And Rönnberg, the coach of Frölunda, still the coach of Frölunda, he was pissed. Like he was really pissed with how people were how they were playing. And then Erik Karlsson just took the puck and he just skated off with it, and he created this one chance from out of nothing, and he looked like he wasn't even trying. Yeah. and then you hear all over the ice, and you have to bleep this, I think.
That's fine. We'll bleep it.
It's so easy. It's so fucking easy to play hockey, isn't it, Erik? All over, and everyone was just like, "Yeah, we all saw that. You don't have to be an NHL or SHL coach to see it. It was just that easy."
It's just that easy for him. Yeah, I mean, we're seeing it again this year. It's such a treat to watch him.
Yeah, and it is great after everything that he went through and has gone through, and the way he behaves here over the summers, and you know which car is his on the parking lot, but and he could afford, and the company that gives it to him every summer could pay the fines, but he has like 5 monthly tickets in the window. His parents, his girlfriends, or like his friends, his practice places and stuff like that, and he's right. I'm gonna make right for myself, and no one is gonna pay my fines or anything. This is me, and I'm doing it the right way, and he's a great guy.
All right, I'll get you out of here on these 2 questions. So back to Sandin-Pellikka. Where, I know we're middle of February, where does he go in the draft, you think? What spot?
5th to 8th.
5th to 8th. That's right in Sharks territory. Win a couple games here. Montreal continues to crater. So okay.
I think because of a very good world under 18 worlds, and
he's the only defenseman too. So
yeah, he is the only defenseman, and we saw it with Seider. We saw it with Kasper as well. I was high on Kasper, and I know I got some stick for it before the draft, but I could.
So the Red Wings are going to draft him somehow. I hate this.
So they're going to trade someone at the deadline that ends up being that pick, the lottery pick, and
you're just going to have Seider and Sandin-Pellikka for the next 15 years. That's going to be great. Yeah, but
and Edvinsson as a monster.
Oh yeah, and I forgot about Edvinsson too. Oh my. All right, and then last question. So 5 years from now, I'm still doing this podcast. Who is the best non-Connor Bedard player in the draft?
Oh, that's a tough one. I'm gonna go with it though. I have to say, because I have a thing for Russians. I do, and so I'm going to say, because I think a lot of them will be very, very good cornerstones, but Michkov could be that superstar.
You're going after the slander. You're turning
back.
But
I think, as I said, I think his floor is very low, but his ceiling is so high. Okay. And then also, it is not because of Michkov is being bad. I think it's because the Russian factor, which I described maybe more as a contract situation rather than a Russian factor. I think it's partly that, but the team that can wait for Michkov, they might rake the whole thing in at the end.
Patrik, thank you so much. Where can the people find you?
Well, you see it here, Seb_Habs. We'll be at Habs Eyes on the Prize, or Eyes on the Prize, for the foreseeable future. We'll work it out, and we'll come back stronger, and maybe in a way more fun, because it's going to be ourselves running it.
No corporate overlords. Yes. So thank you so much, buddy. I can't wait to talk to you again. Enjoy Sweden, and enjoy your trade deadline. Enjoy the trade deadline here, buddy. So.
Yeah, well, you're being set up as well with Karlsson on such a chair.
Let me deal with Timo Meier. I can only deal with one. It's Timo Meier, Erik Karlsson. I can only deal with one right now, losing one right now. So until next time, buddy, thanks so much.
Thank you.
All right, guys, I hope you enjoyed my conversation with Patrik about one Axel Sandin-Pellikka. I would be ecstatic if the Sharks were able to get him and someone in the top 5. If something were to, the Sharks were able to maneuver on up to get Axel Sandin-Pellikka, I think he's going to be a special player. So we'll see. Going to continue doing these draft profiles, especially now that we have a better idea of where the Sharks are going to be picking here after the Timo Meier trade. So especially with now a late round first in their arsenal as well. So I'm going to continue to expand the draft profiles into the late first rounds, early second rounds here soon. So Thank you guys for listening. Make sure you guys are following me on Twitter at MyFryhole. You can follow on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram the show at Locked On Sharks. Watch on YouTube as well. Listen wherever you get your podcasts, Apple, Amazon, and Spotify. And Friday, the Locked On NHL will be hosting a live show from 2 to 4 p.m. Eastern time. As we break down the trade deadline, I will most definitely be on there at some point to talk about whatever the Sharks end up doing. Expect a 45-minute Nick Bonino conversation, I guess. So make sure you guys are checking out the Locked On NHL YouTube live show. And yeah, Locked On Network, your team every day. Until tomorrow, bye, friends.